Alrighty, hello again, folks. Welcome back. We are going to go ahead and do our final readings today. Going to start with Wayside School is Falling Down. Um, so, Wayside School, I don't read these beforehand. I've read them a long time ago. I do find these stories funny. I hope you do as well. Like I said, though, this is the last time that I'm going to be reading from this. If you would like to read it's going to roughly be the other half of the book. The link will be in the description. The link will be to the Indianapolis Public Library, where you'll be able to find it. But we'll go ahead. We'll start in. We'll read two stories, as we have been with Wayside School. And we'll start with Chapter 7, Story number 7, Freedom. Myron crumbled a cracker on the windowsill next to his desk, then looked away. He knew Audley only came while no one was looking. A little while later, a bird landed on the windowsill and ate the crumbs. Myron watched him out of the corner of his eye. He was a black bird with a pink breast. Myron had named him Audley. Is that your dumb bird again? Asked Kathy. No, said Myron. Audley is not my bird. I don't own him. He doesn't live in a cage. Audley is free. You're a bird brain, said Kathy. Myron watched Audley fly away. It made him sad and glad at the same time. He wished he could fly away across the sky with Audley. Audley probably thinks I live in a cage, he realized. Whenever he sees me, I'm sitting in the same desk. He probably thinks this desk is my cage. So Myron got out of his chair and sat on the floor. Myron, what are you doing out of your seat? Asked Miss Jules. I want to sit on the floor, said Myron. Several kids laughed. Get back in your seat, ordered Miss Jules. Myron reluctantly returned to his desk. I do live in a cage, he thought. I'm not allowed out. I have to stay in my cage until the bell rings. Then I have to go down the stairs. Then when it rings again, I have to go up the stairs. Then when it rings again, I have to go down the stairs. Then when it rings again, I have to go up the stairs. I'm never free. The bell rang. Myron went down the stairs. It was so crowded with kids rushing to recess that he couldn't stop if he wanted. It was as if someone had lifted his cage and was carrying him down the stairs. Then the bell rang again. Myron went up the stairs. At lunch, the bell rang again. Myron went down the stairs. After lunch, the bell rang again. Myron stood at the bottom of the staircase and looked up. No, he declared. I won't go. I have to be free. As all the other kids rushed past him, he eased his way around to the back of the stairs. And as everyone went up, Myron went down to the basement. He nervously walked down the old creaky staircase. He didn't know what he'd find, or what we would find him. He had heard that dead rats were living down there, or worse, maybe even Mrs. Gorf. Mrs. Gorf was the meanest teacher Myron had ever had. She used to be the teacher on the 30th story before Miss Jules took over. But nobody believed that Mrs. Gorf was really gone. Everyone said she was still lurking somewhere inside Wayside School. He stepped off the last step at the very bottom of Wayside School. It was too dark to see. Somewhere he heard a drip that echoed around the cold and damp room. With his arms outstretched, he stepped across the gritty floor. His hand struck against a large fat pipe above his head. The pipe felt like it was covered with 1,000 spider webs. Still, Myron kept his finger on the pipe as he walked, so he wouldn't get lost. As long as he stayed with the pipe, he knew he'd be able to find his way back to the stairs. Something crawled across his hand. He shook it off, then continued walking. He thought he heard footsteps behind him. He stopped walking. The sound of the footsteps continued for a second, then stopped. He started again, then stopped. The footsteps stopped a few seconds later. He wasn't alone. It was too dark for Myron to see who was following him, but he realized that meant the person couldn't see him either. Whoever was coming after him had to have been following along the pipe too. So Myron left the safety of the pipe and headed blindly across the basement. The footsteps continued behind him. He stopped. The footsteps stopped too. He bent down, then untied and took off his right sneaker. He threw it towards the other side of the basement. He heard it hit on the floor. Then the footsteps started after it. Very quietly, he took off his other sneaker and threw it in the same direction. He never heard his shoe hit the ground. The footsteps started after him again. He started to run, but slipped in his socked feet on a spot of slime. His hands hit loud and hard as he fell on the cold floor. Footsteps came hurriedly toward him. He held his breath and tried to be as quiet as possible. A light turned on above his head. He screamed. "I believe this is yours," said a bald man. He was holding Myron's left sneaker. Next to him were two men with black mustaches. One of the men held a black attaché case. Myron shook his head. "That's not my shoe," he said. "I never saw it before." The bald man glanced at Myron's shoeless feet. "What's your name?" asked the man with the attaché case. "Myron," said Myron. He regretted it as he said it. He wished he had come up with a fake name. The man with the attaché case opened his attaché case and took out a notebook. "Myron," he repeated as he thumbed through the notebook. "You're supposed to be in Mrs. Jewell's class at the desk next to the window in front of Sherry." "What are you doing out of your your seat?" asked the other man with the mustache. "I just want to be free," tripped Myron. "Please don't hurt me. If you let me go back to Miss Jewell's room, I'll never come down here again." "Well, do you want to be free or do you want to be safe?" asked the bald man. "Huh?" asked Myron. "You can't have it both ways," said the bald man. "Do you want to be safe?" asked one of the men with the mustache. "Do you want to sit in the same chair every day, go up and down the stairs every time the bell rings?" "You'll have to go to school 5 days a week," said the other man with the mustache. "And you'll have to go to bed at the same time every day." "But you'll have to brush your teeth first," said the other man with the mustache. "And you won't be allowed to watch TV until you finish your homework," said the other man with the mustache. "You'll have to go inside when it rains," said the other man with the mustache. "But first you'll have to wipe your feet," said the other man with the mustache. "Or you can be free," said the bald man. The man took a pencil and piece of paper out of his attaché case. "So do you want to be safe, or do you want to be free?" Myron looked at the three men. "I want to be free," he said bravely. The man with the attaché case wrote something on a piece of paper and gave it to Myron. "Sign here," he said. Myron couldn't read the piece of paper. It was written in some kind of foreign language. He signed his name. The man took the paper and pencil from Myron and put them back in his attaché case. "Okay, you're free," he said. "Good luck, Myron," said the bald man. "Here, I think you'll need this." He gave Myron his left sneaker, then reached up and pulled the chain. The light turned off. Myron found himself alone in the darkness. He put his shoe back on, then hopped across the basement floor. He had no idea how to get back. At last, his hand hit against a pipe. But he still didn't know which way to follow it, left or right. He didn't even know if it was the right pipe. He turned left and continued hopping, keeping his finger on the pipe. He was just about ready to turn around and try the other way when he nearly fell over the bottom stair. He hopped up the stairs and continued hopping all the way up to Mrs. Jewell's room. He was tired, sore, and dirty. "You're late, Myron," said Miss Jules. "Go write your name under discipline, then return to your seat for the arithmetic test." But Myron didn't feel like taking an arithmetic test, and he definitely didn't want to write his name on the board. So he sat on the floor, and there was nothing Mrs. Jules could do about it. He was free. After school, Mrs. Jules found Myron's other sneaker in the teacher's lounge in the refrigerator. That's a weird one. It's a very, very weird one. Yeah. Wasn't ready for existential questions in this children's book, but here we are. By the way, the barking that you heard was my dog Tano. We'll go ahead, we'll read chapter 8, our last story of Wayside School, and we'll see where it goes. This is the best part. Todd brought a toy to school. It was a cute, adorable puppy dog. Everyone who saw it said, "Aww." "Aww," said Jenny. "It has such a sweet face." "Aw," said Stephen. "Look at her darling eyes." "Aw," said Dee Dee. "Isn't he the cutest puppy you've ever seen?" "Aw," said Calvin. "Isn't she adorable?" Speaking of, come here. Come here, Pippa. Come here. Aww. Here you go, Pippa. Anyway, Joy sat at the desk behind Todd. Big deal, she thought. It's just a hunk of plastic that happens to look like a dog. Even though Joy didn't like Todd's toy, she decided to steal it. "Wait," said Todd. "Let me show you the best part." Before he could show them the best part, Mrs. Jules rang her cowbell. Take your seats," she commanded. "The bell has rung." All the children returned to their desks. "Todd, go write your name on the blackboard." Todd was the only one who had been in his seat, yet he was the one who got in trouble. That was typical. Miss Jules had a system. First time someone got in trouble, he had to write his name on the blackboard under the word discipline. Second time he got in trouble, he had to put a check next to his name. And if he got in trouble a third time, he had to circle his name and then go home early, 12 o'clock on the kindergarten bus. Todd went home on the kindergarten bus every day. Some of the other kids thought he was lucky, but he just wished he could make it to 12 o'clock without getting into trouble 3 times. He walked to the front of the board and wrote his name on the blackboard under the word discipline. While Todd was at the board, Joy reached over her desk and into Todd's. She felt around for a toy, but as she tried to lift it out, it got caught on something and dropped to the floor. Todd returned to his seat. "Todd, is that your toy on the floor?" asked Mrs. Jules. "Hey, how'd that get there?" asked Todd. "You know the rules, Todd," said Mrs. Jules. "Toys must be kept inside your desk or else I take them. Now bring it here." Todd gave his toy to Mrs. Jules. "Aw, how precious," cooed Mrs. Jules. "He's the most lovable puppy I've ever seen." She kissed Todd's plastic puppy on his plastic nose. "I guess I can let you off this time," she said, "but try to keep him in your desk." She kissed Todd's toy again and then handed it back to him. "You can erase your name from the board, too." Todd could hardly believe it. For the first time ever, he erased his name from the board. As he headed back to his seat, Mrs. Jules said, "Here, take a Tootsie Roll Pop, too, for the sweet puppy." Todd was amazed. So was Joy. Now more than ever, she wanted that toy. Out at recess, everyone wanted to see Todd's toy. "It's magic," said BB. "Kept you from getting into trouble." "No, Miss Jules is just a nice teacher," said Todd. "Here, let me show you the best part." He grabbed hold of the dog's tail and turned it like a crank. Suddenly, the cute floppy ears stood straight up, the mouth opened wide, and the teeth grew into sharp fangs. "Wow," breathed Dee Dee. Todd wasn't finished. He pulled the dog's nose and stretched out its face. The cheeks became thin and bony. The eyes were no longer sweet, but grim and frightening. "What a great toy," said Calvin. The cute little puppy had turned into a mean, hungry, man-eating wolf. "I still haven't shown you the best part," said Todd. But before he could show them the best part, the bell rang and everyone ran up the stairs to class. "I've got to get that puppy dog," thought Joy as she stared at the back of Todd's neck. "Then I'll never get in trouble again." She didn't know Todd's toy had changed into a man-eating wolf. Her lunchbox was on her lap. She quietly opened it and took out a carton of cranberry juice and a tiny straw. She stuck the straw into the carton and sucked up some juice into it. She waited for Miss Jules to turn around, then blew the juice out of the straw. It spattered against Todd's neck. He slapped the back of his neck with his hand. Joy laughed to herself, sucked up some more juice, took careful aim, and fired. Todd turned around, but Joy already had the straw out of her mouth and was looking down at her book. Todd rubbed his neck and faced front. Joy sucked up more juice and blew it onto Todd's neck. "Hey!" he shouted, turning around. "Leave me alone, Todd. I'm trying to work," said Joy. "Todd, what's the matter with you?" asked Mrs. Jules. "I try to be nice, but you just take advantage. Now, go write your name on the blackboard." Todd walked up to the front of the room. He still thought Miss Jules was the nicest teacher in the world. He looked up at the clock. It was almost 11. I might just make it today, he thought. I might just make it. He started to write his name when he heard a loud scream. He turned around and saw Joy jumping up and down and waving her hand in the air. His toy was biting her pinky and she couldn't shake it off. "Help!" screamed Joy as she hopped around the room. "Todd, how do I get it off? Todd, please!" Todd smiled. "There," he said. "That's the best part." And that's where we're going to leave off with Wayside School. For the first, I don't remember if Todd actually makes it or not through this book, because, yeah, he always ends up getting in trouble throughout this, but he might just make it. He's maybe got an hour. He's got 2 more chances. We'll see. You'll have to see, unfortunately, because you'll have to be the one who reads it. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed this. This is, like I said, the last time I'm going to be reading with this. I'm going to do recaps next week, and then after that we'll be into the school year, and I won't see you guys until fall break. So, until then, I hope you've had a great summer. I hope that if you've not already checked out some of the other videos that I have, some of the other books that I have, that you take some time to do that. Until then, though, I'll see you later.